Hello, dear listeners. Settle in, unwind, and let the ordinary fade away. Tonight, we have a tale that will linger in your thoughts long after it ends. So get cozy, take a deep breath, and remember, sometimes the creak in the floorboards isn't just your imagination. Let's begin. Boo Hag, Nocturnal Terror. Spanish moss sways from ancient oaks as the sun bleeds red across the horizon. A small white farmhouse sits in isolation, surrounded by marshland. Some say the dead rest easy in the south, that the heat and humidity soften even the hardest spirits. But down here in the low country, we know better. Some things never rest, and some things were never truly alive to begin with. With subtle southern roots, unpacks clothing in a simple, rustic bedroom. The walls are weathered, the floorboards creak. An old family photo shows a younger Emma with an elderly woman. Through the window, marshland stretches to the horizon. The room is lit by a single bedside lamp, creating long shadows. "Yes, I made it, Rachel," Emma said, speaking on the phone. "The house is exactly how Grandma left it." Emma runs her fingers along the wooden dresser, collecting dust. "I know it seems crazy, quitting my job to move back here. But after the divorce and Grandma's passing, I needed somewhere quiet, somewhere to restart." She pauses, listening. No neighbours for at least a mile, just me and the crickets." Emma laughs slowly. "You city folk are all the same," Emma said. "Trust me, the scariest thing out here is the size of the mosquitoes." A sudden thump from the roof makes Emma jump. Startled, she said, "I should go. Probably just a branch falling. I'll call you tomorrow." Emma hangs up and stares at the ceiling. Another thump, followed by what sounds like scratching. The full moon illuminates the rooftop. Nothing visible moves, but the scratching continues. Emma grabs a flashlight from her bag. "Welcome home, Emma," she says to herself. "One night in, and you're already jumping at raccoons." She opens the bedroom door and steps into the dark hallway. Emma reaches up and pulls down the attic ladder. She points her flashlight up into the darkness. "Hello? Any critters up there?" No response. The scratching has stopped. Emma climbs the ladder slowly, each rung creaking under her weight. The flashlight beam cuts through the attic darkness, revealing old furniture covered in sheets and boxes of memories. Emma makes a complete sweep. Nothing unusual. "See?" she said, relieved. "Nothing to worry about." As she turns to leave, her flashlight catches something. Red fibers on a nail sticking out from a roof beam. Emma approaches, examining the fiber. "Is this silk?" she said, confused. Emma's bedroom later that night. Emma lies in bed, staring at the ceiling. The house makes natural settling noises around her. She closes her eyes, trying to sleep. The bedside clock reads 2:37 a.m. A faint hissing sound comes from outside the window. Emma's eyes snap open. She remains perfectly still, listening. The hissing continues, rhythmic, almost like labored breathing. Emma slowly turns her head toward the window. The curtains are drawn. The hissing stops. Emma waits, heart pounding. Nothing. She exhales and turns back. A dark shape darts across the foot of her bed. Emma gasps, sitting upright. "Who's there?" she's whispering. Silence. Emma fumbles for the lamp. When the light comes on, the room is empty. Emma checks under the bed. Nothing. She gets up, checks the closet. Empty. She starts to calm down, then notices the bedroom door is now slightly ajar. Emma peeps into the hallway, empty, but from downstairs comes the sound of creaking floorboards. Emma grabs her phone, finger hovering over the emergency dial. Another creak, then silence. She slowly descends the stairs. In the living room, Emma enters the living room, phone flashlight illuminating her path. The room appears undisturbed, but all the windows are now open, curtains billowing in the night breeze. "I know I closed these," Emma said, confused. A slamming sound from upstairs makes Emma jump. She races back up the stairs. Emma rushes in to find her bedroom window wide open, curtains whipping in the wind. She approaches cautiously, peers outside, nothing but darkness. Emma closes and locks the window, then turns. On her bed lie a small pile of red silk, like the fibers from the attic. Emma's house the next morning. Morning light bathes the old house, birds chirp, the serenity contrasts with the night's events. Emma sits at the kitchen table, exhausted, clutching a cup of coffee. The red fibers are placed in a small dish in front of her. A knock at the door startles her. Emma opens the door to find an elderly black woman, Miss Josephine, 78, holding a basket of vegetables. "Well, if it isn't little Emma Mercer," Miss Josephine said warmly, "all grown up and back home." "Miss Josephine," Emma said, surprised, then recognizing, "You're still kicking?" "You bet," Miss Josephine said. "Takes more than time to put me in the ground." Miss Josephine hands Emma the basket. "Heard you moved back in," Miss Josephine said. "Thought you could use some proper welcome." Emma's kitchen, moments later. Emma and Miss Josephine sit at the table. The older woman notices the red fibers and freezes. "Where'd you find this?" Miss Josephine asked. "In the attic," Emma said, "and then some appeared on my bed last night. I think someone might have broken in." Miss Josephine's expression grows grave. "Not someone, something." Emma looks confused. "Your grandmother never told you about the Boo Hag?" Miss Josephine asked. "Boo what?" "Boo Hag, old Gullah belief. A spirit that sheds its skin and comes in the night," Miss Josephine said. Emma smiles nervously. "Miss Josephine, I appreciate the folklore, but it ain't folklore to those who've seen it," Miss Josephine said, dead serious. "The hag comes while you sleep, sits on your chest, rides you till morning, leaves you exhausted. Some never wake up at all." Miss Josephine points to the red fibers. "That there's its skin, red as blood, thin as a whisper," Miss Josephine said. "With all due respect, there's got to be a logical explanation," Emma said, skeptical. "Your grandmother believed," Miss Josephine said. "That's why she kept the blue bottle trees outside. That's why she swept the red brick dust across the thresholds." Emma glances out the window. Sure enough, there are old bottles on tree branches, faded with time. "The hag can't pass these protections," Miss Josephine said. "Your grandmother kept this place safe, but now?" She looks around the house meaningfully. "The protections are faded," Miss Josephine said, "and the hag is patient." Emma's house at dusk. Emma stands on her porch watching Miss Josephine leave. In the garden, she notices the bottle trees, glass bottles of various fading colours hanging from branches. She approaches one tree and touches a dusty blue bottle. Boo Hag, she said to herself skeptically. Right. The sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the property. Emma sits with her laptop researching. The screen shows articles about Boo Hag and Gullah folklore. She scrolls through images of red-skinned creatures, descriptions of night hauntings, protective measures like blue bottles and brooms. Emma rubs her eyes, exhausted. This is ridiculous, she said to herself. She closes the laptop and heads upstairs. Emma gets ready for bed, glancing occasionally at the window and door. Despite her skepticism, she's taking precautions. She places a broom across the doorway, something her research suggested. She checks that the windows are locked and curtains drawn. Finally, she slips into bed and turns off the light. In the darkness, Emma's eyes remain wide open, watching for any movement. Time passes. The clock reads 1:23 a.m. Emma's eyelids grow heavy. She fights sleep, but eventually drifts off. The clock now reads 3:17 a.m. A faint scratching sound comes from the roof. Emma stirs in her sleep, grimacing as if in discomfort. The window slowly, silently unlocks itself and begins to open. A thin red mist-like substance seeps through the opening, hovering in the air before drifting toward Emma's bed. The mist begins to take form, elongated limbs, a distorted head with hollow eyes, and skin like tattered silk. It moves with unnatural fluidity, crawling across the ceiling directly above Emma. Emma's breath becomes laboured. She twists in the sheets, trapped in a nightmare. The Boo Hag descends, hovering inches above Emma's body. It lowers itself, beginning to settle on her chest, but stops at the sight of the broom across the doorway. The creature hisses in frustration, retreating slightly. Its hollow eyes scan the room, noticing a small gap in the broom's placement. The bristles don't quite touch the door frame. The hag dissolves back into mist, flowing toward the gap. Emma suddenly gasps, awake, feeling the pressure on her chest vanish. She sits up, breathing heavily, looking around the dark room. Her eyes fall on the broom, which is now vibrating slightly, as if something is trying to pass through the small gap beside it. Emma watches in horror as the red mist seeps through, reforming on her side of the threshold. No! Emma whispers, terrified. The Boo Hag rushes toward her with supernatural speed. Emma screams, throwing herself off the bed just as the creature lunges. She scrabbles across the floor, barely making it through the doorway. Emma races down the hallway, the red mist pursuing her. She stumbles down the stairs, falling halfway and rolling to the bottom. Dazed but driven by terror, Emma scrambles to her feet and runs for the kitchen. Emma rushes in, slamming the door behind her. She frantically searches drawers. What did Miss Josephine say? She asked herself, panicking. What keeps it away? The door begins to vibrate, red mist seeping through the cracks. Emma finds a container of salt and a box of blue food colouring left from her grandmother's baking supplies. Thinking quickly, she mixes them in a bowl of water. The door bursts open. The Boo Hag reforms, more solid now, moving toward Emma with outstretched claws. Emma throws the blue salt water at the creature. The hag shrieks, the liquid burning through its red skin like acid. Emma dashes past it while it's disoriented. Emma grabs her car keys from the coffee table. She makes for the front door but stops. The Boo Hag is there, blocking her exit, its form partially dissolved but reforming quickly. Trapped, Emma backs away. Her eyes dart around, looking for escape. She spots a bottle of wine on the counter. It's blue glass. Emma grabs it, smashes it against the wall, and holds the broken bottle out like a weapon. The hag hesitates, eyeing the blue glass warily. "Stay back," Emma said defiantly. The creature circles her, looking for an opening. Emma keeps the blue glass between them. She inches toward the back door, her only chance of escape. The hag lunges suddenly. Emma swings the bottle, catching the creature across its chest. A terrible ripping sound as the blue glass tears through the hag's skin. The creature wails, its form destabilizing. Emma uses the opportunity to run for the back door. Emma bursts outside, running toward the bottle trees. The Boo Hag follows, its form rippling with rage, moving with impossible speed. Emma reaches the nearest bottle tree and turns to face the creature, backing around the tree, using it as a shield. The hag slows, hesitant to approach the bottles. "You can't come near them, can you?" Emma said, realizing. The creature hisses, circling, looking for a way past the bottles. Emma continues circling the tree, maintaining the barrier between them. The standoff continues as the eastern sky begins to lighten, dawn approaching. The hag becomes more desperate, making quick jabbing motions towards Emma, trying to frighten her away from the tree. "No, you're running out of time," Emma said with growing confidence. "Aren't you?" The creature shrieks in fury. The first ray of sunlight breaks over the horizon. The Boo Hag looks eastward, then back at Emma with hollow, hateful eyes. It begins to dissolve, turning back into red mist. "I'll be back when the sun sets, Emma Mercer," the Boo Hag said, voice dry like leaves rustling. "Night after night, forever." As the creature dissolves completely, Emma sees something on the ground where it stood, a pile of thin red skin like a discarded garment. At Miss Josephine's house in the morning, a small well-kept house surrounded by lush gardens and multiple bottle trees. Emma, exhausted and disheveled, stands on the porch as Miss Josephine opens the door. "Lord have mercy," Miss Josephine said, taking in Emma's appearance. "It found you." Emma sits at the table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea. Miss Josephine mixes herbs in a mortar and pestle. "It was real. Everything you said. It was real," Emma said. "Boo Hags are as real as you and me, just from somewhere else," Miss Josephine said. Miss Josephine adds blue powder to her mixture. "My grandmother taught me how to keep them away. Your grandmother knew too," Miss Josephine said. "It said it would come back every night. Once the hag finds you, it doesn't stop," Miss Josephine said, nodding. "It wants your breath, your life force." "How do I stop it?" Emma asked. "You don't stop it. You keep it out." She hands Emma a small pouch of the blue powder. "Make a line of this across every threshold. Hang new bottles, blue ones, from the trees. And most important," she looks Emma in the eyes, "find its skin and destroy it." "The red silk?" Emma asked. I saw it leave some behind. That's just pieces," Miss Josephine said. "I'm talking about its full skin, what it sheds before coming through your windows." Find where it hides during the day, and you'll find the skin. Emma searches the grounds methodically. She checks the garden shed, under the porch, in the hollow trees. Finally, she approaches an old well at the far end of the property, partially hidden by overgrowth. Emma peers down into the darkness. Emma descends on a rope well, flashlight in mouth. At the bottom of the old well, she finds it. A complete red skin, folded neatly like clothing, human-shaped but wrong, with elongated limbs and fingers. Emma's backyard at dusk. Emma has prepared. New blue bottles hang from the trees, blue powder every doorway and windowsill. In the center of the yard, a small fire burns in a metal trash can. Emma holds the red skin over the flames, hesitating. The sun touches the horizon, beginning to set. A cool wind rises suddenly, whipping around Emma. The trees bend unnaturally. A distant shrieking can be heard. Emma throws the skin into the fire. The reaction is immediate. The flames turn bright blue, shooting 10 feet into the air. The skin writhes in the flames as if alive, twisting and contorting. A terrible scream echoes across the property, seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere. The wind reaches gale force, then suddenly stops. The fire returns to normal, the red skin now just ashes. Complete silence falls. Emma's porch at night. Emma sits on the porch swing, wrapped in a blanket. The bottle trees sway gently in the night breeze. Her phone rings. It's Rachel. Hey, Rach. Emma, how's rural life treating you? Rachel asked. Bored to tears yet? Emma looks out at her property, at the blue bottles catching moonlight, at the now peaceful darkness. Actually, I think I'm exactly where I need to be, Emma said. She smiles, rocking gently on the swing. Some things you have to face to overcome, Emma said, and some places, they grow on you. A blue bottle catches the moonlight, sending a protective glow across the porch. Some say the Boo Hag still rides the night winds of the low country, looking for those unwary enough to sleep with their windows unlocked. Some say it's just an old tale to frighten children. And Emma continues rocking, peaceful now, protected. But in these old places, where the veil between worlds grows thin, the wise still hang their blue bottles. They still sweep their thresholds with salt, and they never ever sleep with the windows open.